turn through Force of Will. This is not an impossible thing.
I've actually been killed quite easily through a Force of Will and an Inquisition somehow on turn 2. He actually has the duress you spoke of, so maybe that might be enough. But then again, he's not exactly rolling in the mana right now, so we'll see.
Right.
I see a Lotus Petal, maybe 2 on the side, so he does have free mana. Let's see what he can do with it.
So a key synergy in the Ant deck, if you haven't really seen this deck in action, if you're new to Legacy, is Infernal Tutor, which at Hellbent is just Demonic Tutor. Playing it and in response sacrificing your Lion's Eye Diamond with the Infernal Tutor on the stack, you float a bunch of mana. Your Infernal Tutor then becomes Demonic Tutor. You can go get either Past in Flames or Ad Nauseam as the situation demands. And that is a route there that allows the deck to generate a lot of mana and search its deck for the key components to go off in one turn.
And I actually watched, while you were busy working, I was wandering the room here. I watched Grant play his last round against, looked like a Divining Top counterbalance deck. Grant actually, watching him play, he's actually more careful than the average Ant player. I saw him have multiple rituals without the duress and actually have the Ad Nauseam, and he still held back for a turn. He also brought in Dark Confidant against that control deck. I don't see him bringing it in against Merfolk. So even if Grant might be able to go off here, I think he's pretty conservative. He might actually wait. But the danger is, like you saw, he has Spell Pierce in his hand, Dana does. So letting him untap you, there's another card you got to play around, not just one card.
And there's really nothing more dangerous in your average Legacy tournament than a proficient Ad Nauseam opponent, in my mind. There's a lot of matchups, the ones that don't involve Force of Will or a ton of Thoughtseizes and Duresses, that are a cakewalk. And the best pilots are able to slog through even the best disruption.
Yeah, and Adam Prozac comes to mind as someone who's pretty good at running it, and he's also a big Star City Games contributor. I'm sure you guys have seen and heard of him. Yep. Real nice guy.
Ari Lax as well has been an enthusiast of this deck from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's definitely a deck that requires a certain type of player. It's not my cup of tea, if you will.
Right.
Let's see, we got a situation here where I think he's going to fire Duress off. Would be my guess. And I think, barring some pretty juicy final cards, let's see. If he has a Lotus Petal and 2 Dark Rituals, he would be able to Ad Nauseam here too, but I don't know if he's going to do all that.
So here comes the Duress. I can only imagine we're taking Force of Will out of this hand. Leaves Dana with just the Spell Pierce's Disruption, passes the turn.
All right, another standstill.
No, that was a Master of the Pearl Trident.
Oh, God, sorry, yeah, you're right. So he's holding Wasteland here. Obviously, Wasteland is pretty good. Definitely Silver Guild up. He's actually just not even worried. He's not even caring about leaving Spell Pierce open. He's going full in.
So now we're going to see if Grant can go off. There's no disruption that he's aware of. A Force Will may have been drawn, but as far as Grant knows, the coast is clear.
And we see a Daze in his hand.
A Daze is
drawn. Okay,
yep.
So he does not know that. Daze is not exactly the worst card for Grant. I mean, anything disruption, it hurts. But I prefer it to be Daze over Force, obviously.
Yeah, it's just rough because he might be operating on the assumption that the coast is completely clear.
Right. He does have another Duress he's able to use. I saw it in his hand. I don't know if he has the mana to do all that. It's tough to see, especially if we don't have their hand laid out. We would need to really crunch the numbers here and see exactly what we can do with all the mana. 'Cause this is, by definition, a mana deck.
Yeah.
Do I have enough mana to do it? Do I have the final card to do it? If all holds true, so for the best.
So by the looks of things, Grant doesn't have he appears to not have...
It's a Dark Ritual, fancy foil DCI one. And he's going to Daze it. I think that's a Dark Ritual. I think that's the fancy DCI foil one. I'm pretty sure, if we can get that checked. It's definitely a different art than I'm used to seeing.
So the thing here for Grant is, I don't think he can get his hand empty easily. He doesn't have a Lion's Eye Diamond and multiple Infernal Tutors, so he has 2 different paths to pursue here. One is to try to get his hand empty through rituals, and the other one is to use Infernal Tutors to double up on relevant cards to then try to set up a big Ad Nauseam or...
Yeah, I like that also. I think that's the line he's going to do. He had the Duress, but he chose to do it after the ritual. Take Spell Pierce.
And a Spell Pierce off the top for Dana, which is the reason he didn't attack with his Mutavault, and that's definitely giving Grant a pause here. either Daze or Force of Will would prompt him to attack with a Mutavault. So,
all right, so he's going to cast Infernal Tutor. So he gets Spell Pierce. The remaining cards in his hand, all I see are Petal. It looks like a Cabal Ritual.
And an Infernal Tutor.
Tutor.
He can actually get empty-handed next turn off of his Infernal Tutor with a lot of mana floating. So,
wow, yeah, this is actually going to be a pretty big turn. He can actually go off here and have enough for Ad Nauseam, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not, actually. Preordains here. Does he have enough for? He would have. I'm not sure how close the threshold is. I think it's like 4 cards.
Well, the 2 petals make 2 mana. Cabal Ritual goes up to 5, so we can cast Ad Nauseam with a mana, possibly a second mana here if... Alright, he's going to keep the land, so he's going to have 2 floating. Assuming that he plays the 2 petals.
Yeah, he's going to...
So this brings him up to 5 mana because he's now threshold. Now he can cast Infernal Tutor with 3 mana floating, and he has the 2 petals left over, so that gets him to 5. So he gets to cast Ad Nauseam here at 11. Unless, I don't think, can he go in Past in Flames here? It doesn't have...
He has 1 Dark Ritual and 1 Cabal Ritual, but I don't see... if he gets Past in Flames, he's not going to be able... He's going to have 1 petal available for red mana, or excuse me, for black mana there.
So...
I don't think...
He has 3 black in the pool right now. If he goes and gets Past in Flames, he has to sack a petal, which puts him at empty on mana. So I don't know if he can...
I think it's Ad Nauseam. I think you're right the first time.
Well, no, he's going and getting Past in Flames. And
did he get Past in Flames?
There may be another ritual down there that I'm missing.
Was there a red ritual there? They don't have red rituals in the deck. I'm just wondering, how's he going to get the...
Oh, well, he can ritual a bunch of times and then Infernal Tutor again, and then go get
regular tendrils that way and kill him. Right?
Yeah, you can go manual style, and if he's short, he can go get Ad Nauseam with mana floating. Okay. So he can go and win this way.
I got you. So he played Petal, Tutor, Ritual, Preordain. That's 5. Then he's played 6, 7, 8. Oh, he's definitely got it. He's got it. I think this is for 18 or for 20 on the dot? I mean, he's conceding here. So it must have been for 20.
Grant wins the first game through multiple pieces of disruption. Very impressive showing for Ant there in that first game. Merfolk considered kind of one of the fundamentally bad matchups for Ant because it's pressure plus Force of Will and other soft permission. But
even the standstill gave him an Ancestral Recall there right off the bat. Didn't seem to matter too much. It's definitely a matchup where it's all about the duress there. You see what their hand is, and then you just play around it. Even though it seemed like Dana drew pretty fairly well after that, a few more disruption spells, and it still didn't get him there.
Yeah, he drew a Daze and a Pierce in the turns after Grant had to rest him, so very impressive.
Right. So to the sideboard here, we have Spell Pierce. I love the one Lawan Cephalid Empress. It's kind of like the old mirror match tech back in the day. I actually, at Snowblade, ran one of those also. It's a pretty sweet card, and obviously we're not bringing that in. We have Back to Basics. Might not be too bad. I saw, what do you have, 3 non-basics out, but you did have an island too.
Yeah, it's just a little rough because he might just be saying, go, 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 kill you in one turn.
Right. So maybe it doesn't warrant maybe 1 or 2. I'm not sure. I don't know. More of a question there.
He also has a basic island and a basic swamp, so if Grant's conscious about it, and he's already going to be a little bit because he wants to play around Wasteland when he's able to.
Right.
But he can get an island and a swamp and play around Back to Basics if it's on his mind.
I guess there's not enough cards to really board out for that. I think you bring Relic Progenitus because Past in Flames is a huge problem for that deck, isn't it? Yeah, because you can obviously get them low enough where Ad Nauseam is not exactly a safe bet, and I think Relic is a good way to stop the alternate win here. For cards to come out, Repeal doesn't seem too fantastic. Besides Repeal, what are you seeing here?
I mean, it's a pretty lean deck. I mean, it's Disruption and Threats.
So I guess you cut Threats.
Yeah. On the other side, Grant here has 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Carpet of Flowers, a Tendrils, a Cabal Therapy, a Caracas, a Massacre, 2 Chain of Vapors, and 4 Dark Confidants. I think there's only so much that he can really shave out of this deck because it's all engine. I don't think Abrupt Decay is necessarily for every deck that has cheap things. It's probably just for the Gadok Teagues and Thalias and such of the world.
Right. And I think, obviously, cards like Massacre, they might look good at first, but those merfolk are quite larger than 2/2s, and it's going to cost a full 4 here, and we know we're not going to be able to get the 4 mana for that, so that's definitely for the white decks.
I wouldn't be surprised if Grant actually brought in 0 cards here.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I think Grant's main deck is fine against it. I think Duress, maybe a therapy to complement it. I don't know how many he would bring in. How many therapies does he have in here?
There's one therapy in the board. I can see bringing in that one because you care a lot about Force of Will, of course.
Right, so I mean, boarding one card's not too shabby. He starts with a Duress, probably the best card you can hope for. Sees Spell Pierce, and he takes a Standstill.
So he looks at Phantasmal Image, Master of the Pearl Trident, Wasteland, and Spell Pierce.
I kind of like taking the Standstill here because with Aether Vial out, Dana will draw 3 cards from that.
Yeah, and you know he's aware of the Pierce now, so it's a card he can work around.
Right, exactly. And I think he might have another hand destruction spell in hand. He has that Dark Ritual again, the fancy foil one. He has Probe here. Take a look-see.
Sees, like we said, the Spell Pierce and the Fish.
Yeah. And I see what you're saying here with the basic swamp, which he clearly had there, and then with fetch lands, seems like back to basics wouldn't be the greatest thing in the world to get. This is going to get Spell Pierce pretty instinctively here.
Yep.
Does Grant have enough? He has a tutor here. I can't imagine. I see a land all the way to the left there. I don't think that's even close. But
well, he does have a Lion's Eye Diamond in his hand.
I do see a tutor, a Lion's Eye Diamond, and I don't know what the other card is.
There's a Relic of Progenitus, which is nice against that, potentially nice against that Cabal Ritual, keeping Elbow Threshold, and like you mentioned before, the Passive Flames kill.
Right, yeah. Let's see what Grant has. If we're missing the card in his hand, if it's like an Ad Nauseam or something impactful like that, he can actually do a decent amount of work. Or Infernal Tutor, because he can easily empty his hand here with Lion's Eye Diamond. Does the trick. But Passive Flames is out of the question. Though, at 16 life, I think it's a pretty safe Ad Nauseam situation here. And I think he's going to... He actually has the Ad Nauseam. That's the card card he was holding. And he will be using Ad Nauseam here. Let's see, that's 3, 4, 5 on the dot.
Cabal Ritual takes him up to 3 mana.
He has 6 mana total. He'll definitely use only 1 petal here to save any color he wants.
5 mana.
And this is a good card to play first in case there's any kind of daze or Spell Pierce situation.
Yeah, you can play this and in response crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. So he has 3 mana floating, plus the petal's still available. No land drop for the turn, but Ad Nauseam here at 16 life with 3 mana floating is a very likely kill.
Yeah, he's looking good.
So at 16 life, $15, 14, 13,
yeah.
11, 9, 8, 7.
Oh, that's free, yeah.
And that's the Passive Flame. So I have to imagine that we have enough to kill him from here.
He's going to actually use the Relic, right, in response to the Passive
Flame? Relic is still up. Okay, that complicates things some amount, but I think he's got enough to go.
He's got plenty of juice here. I mean, he can easily start digging. He's looking at Brainstorm here. He had 3 blue mana, according to our spectator on the ground here. So he's going to Brainstorm here. And I see an Infernal Tutor that he drew. Looks like a land.
A carpet.
No, you're right. That's a carpet. That's not a land, actually. The green card confused me a little bit. That's one that adds mana during your mana pool for
each island your opponent controls on the beginning of your main phase.
Yeah, I've seen that in action. Not too shabby. Obviously not the best right now. We're trying to slay our opponent here. But that's a Dark Ritual. He's going to have to crack Lotus Petal in order to use that, and he is.
Plays a petal.
The storm count is pretty high right now. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's probably 6 or 7, it feels like. Definitely enough to where he casts a few more things. Just a natural Tendrils will do it. He cast Dark Ritual. I don't know where the black was. He said he said
of the petal. Or no, he doesn't.
He doesn't have easy. He has 2 blue floating.
There we go. So there's the black, and now 3 black for Dark Ritual.
And that's the 7th spell of the turn, according to our man over there. So 7 spells, 3 black, 2 blue floating, Lotus Petal.
Yeah, it's still, with that Relic floating in there, I don't know if he has enough action to basically Past in. I doubt he has enough to Past in Flames and then be able to go off after the graveyard gets removed.
I agree.
With the second Past in Flames, that would be pretty surprising.
Oh, he is popping it in response, which gives him a Past in Flames out now.
Yeah.
In response to an Infernal Tutor. That's kind of curious. Infernal Tutor doesn't have anything to do with the graveyard. I think Dana was just trying to hit a Spell Pierce, maybe?
Yeah. So he's going to Infernal Tutor, reveal a Preordain in his hand, find another Preordain. So he's just digging for an Infernal, either a Tendrils or to build up a graveyard where he can Pass in Flames and go off.
Right,
again.
yeah, now he just needs a couple rituals. That Relic was the only thing keeping Dana above water here. We have a Therapy here, as we thought he might board in. He's going to Preordain again, leaving him with 0 blue mana, 3 black mana.
Both go to
He
the bottom
is
again.
digging. Lion's Eye Diamond is not too bad of a draw if he has another Infernal Tutor.
I think he has another Infernal Tutor in hand. I don't know if he has enough, if he can generate enough mana to float enough in response and be able to cast his Infernal Tutor.
So let's see how much mana he has. He has 1 black floating. That'll be 4 from the Lion's Eye Diamond, and then 5 from the Petal. So that leaves him 3. He is 1 mana short from an actual hard Tendrils kill. 1 mana short. Let's see if he has anything in his hand that can help him achieve that last mana. If not, he's not. He's saying go. We see a fizzle out here, and with Grant at 4.
Well, there's no guarantee that he's actually going to be able to kill him this turn, right?
Right. No, definitely not. 2 Lords here would do it. That's not a Lord. We're going to get 1 Lord here, which will put him to 1 life. Oh no, he's actually just going to have double Curse Catcher. That's better.
Yeah, so he's got some protection and a daze, so
this
it's going to be tough to go off through, yeah.
It's sad. Grant was literally 1 mana short, yeah. And he preordained twice. If any of his top cards was any kind of ritual, he would have had enough.
A Petal, so just something that made net mana, yeah.
Yeah. So we got an Infernal Tutor here. He's going to sacrifice here for Force Spike. I think Grant's just seeing what he's going to do. I don't see much with a full grip there. You can actually tutor for maybe a second Lion's Eye Diamond in order to maybe have 1 more Infernal Tutor.
Comes to Hardcast, Gataxian Probe, sees Daze.
Okay, and there's a ritual. A couple cards short.
Yeah, and that's it. Pretty a relic and a not so awesome ad nauseum there, and Dana able to steal the second game. On to the third game. Grant, obviously, it looks like the card that did get sideboarded in on his side was Carpet of Flowers. Makes a lot of sense to bring in because you have a lot of hand disruption to take out, Force of Will, and if you're able to land a Carpet of Flowers, then you care a lot less about the soft permission.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just a well of mana for you, and it's something that I've seen it was incorporated. I played against it, just didn't recognize her off the bat. It's pretty good. I mean, it's like a ritual that you can use regularly, you know?
Yeah. No, it's more associated, I would say, with Charbelcher sideboards because mana is commonly the bottleneck with that deck, and it allows you to go off from a much lower base, but clearly productive against Merfolk as well. The only downside is that Merfolk doesn't have a lot in the way of islands, and if they have an Aether Vial, they might be able to get away with having no islands in play at all. But
right, I see it being a little bit weaker in this situation, especially, like you said, we're Wastelanding. He even has 1 copy of Mistress Factory, so not only is he 4 Mutavault, he's got 5 Mutavault effects. A lot of colorless land here. That's 8 total. It's almost half. So game 2, I don't think either deck sideboards differently. I like the Ant deck just having just the Therapy after board. I think that's all he had. I didn't see any other side. Oh, excuse me, the Carpet of Flowers. You think you should bring that back out?
No, I think keeping those in are fine. Even if the Carpet's only making 1 mana a turn, when you're playing against Daze and Pierce, that's enough to be productive. Anything beyond that is awesome.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's worth the slot, basically. I don't know if maybe he gets away from Past in Flames now that he is aware of Relic in the sideboard and tries to win just straight through ad nauseum and Tendrils of Agony.
Right, because without that Past in Flames in there, he would have had 4 more life to go dig some more and probably, I would say, actually definitely finish off Dana there. All right, so Grant now, knowing fearful of the Relic, knows that he's probably going to have to go straight to the Dome here without using his graveyard much. That's if Dana draws it, of course. Looking at his hand.
It's pretty land. Grant's hand is pretty land heavy.
Yeah, see, if those hands with these decks, they're real tough to keep. A Brainstorm, obviously, in the fetch land, make anything keepable. Otherwise, you really have to consider shipping it back. And he's going to keep.
He's going to keep.
And Dana is thinking he really wants to have, what do you think, at least 2 interaction spells. A Daze and a Force of Will.
A lot of it depends
Pierce and a Daze.
A lot of it depends on the speed of his clock. He might be able to get away with less disruption if he has a faster clock. But
I think I saw Back to Basics too at the very bottom of his deck, so he might have brought one in. Which I don't. After seeing game 2 how it went, I'm not sure if I agree with it, but I see the merit. He does have a lot of non-basics in the ant deck. Maybe he could steal a win that way.
Well, yeah, you have to. Basically, the problem that I have with Back to Basics is it's 3 mana, which is a lot for the matchup.
Right.
And for it to be effective, it means that Grant has to spend a lot of mana on his own turn for you to catch his lands. And what's the scenario where he's spending a lot of mana on his own turn and not killing you? It's the only
Preordain and Ponder pretty much about it.
Infernal Tutor set up a kill for the next turn. We're talking corner case scenarios.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I see the most effective use of Back to Basics is pitching into a Force of Will at this point. So
we got an opening
he's got
attack.
or he's got an interaction here. We got a Force and a Daze there.
A Master of the Pearl Trident, a Silvergill Adept, a Mutavault, and a Mistress Factory.
So he has no way to cast any of those cards at this point. But luckily for him, he has a Force in order to stay afloat here. If Grant has a Duress, he's going to take the Force here, and now Dana has absolutely no disruption to defeat Grant until he draws a blue source. And Grant had land heavy. He actually has Tendrils in his hand, which I don't think that's that great a lot of the time, but he did draw. It looks like a
It was a Cabal there, but a Dark Ritual, and another cantrip, I think. So
okay,
pretty juicy Ponder.
I think Dana, the only way you shuffle there is if there's a couple land. I think pretty much all the spells in his deck are pretty good here. You draw Petals, you draw Rituals, you get an Infernal Tutor, you can get anything. You just need to build some meat to your hand.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is he might really just be finding Infernal Tutor here because his hand appears to be land and he's naturally drawn the Tendrils. So
right, so he's all about just massive spell count here. No need for graveyard use, and there's another Ritual, so we have lots of mana, but it looks like Grant is... Oh wow, we got some beats here.
Yep.
Tapping a little...
Tapping the factory to pump.
Yes. Got it.
As among Mutavault's many creature types is Assembly Worker or Factory Worker or what have you.
Right.
Silvergill Adept drawing off the island here.
So now we have Daze active. Again, we have damage incurred from lands, and it looks like Grant has another Ritual. We are rolling in Rituals right now, but it does not look like it's enough. Doesn't look like he has 10 cards in his hand to kill him with Tendrils here.
No, he's really committed to trying to find Ad Nauseam or Infernal Tutor here.
Yeah. We have a Standstill here. That's going to be a pretty good card for Dana. Do you like Standstill here, or do you like just playing 2 more or another creature here? I think you can cast that other Silvergill or that. I think it's a Phantasmal Image. He has one of those 2 on his left there.
I think I'd be more inclined to.
Because he's at 7. Actually, no, that's lethal on board. Excuse me. That's 7. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pump. No. It's 6.
Yeah, he's with a land it's lethal.
Right, with a land it's lethal. Alright, so if he goes this route. I'm not sure what Grant's in his hand, but he's got 3 black, 1 spell. Cabal Therapy.
I can only imagine this is naming Forcible.
Yeah, or he might... Yeah, I mean, I would name Force of Will. He might name Daze because he sees it there if he doesn't daze it already, but he will daze it. So now I think you just let the Therapy drown, right? Or do you actually use it? He does name Force of Will.
Yeah,
he did draw 3 cards. It's pretty likely that, you know, you still want to see the hand even if he might not draw that Force of Will.
Yeah, we've come this far, so...
Right.
Confirmed.
I would definitely count my mana so I'm not short 1 to kill him at the end, you know? If that's the case, then you pay it when it's available. But it looks like he's got a lot of mana. I just don't know. I don't see any card to finish off the cap there. He did Daze, so that adds another spell to the mix here. So that's 3 spells.
Yeah, I mean, the route to victory here, I think, is
Maybe
it involves tendriling for Shade under lethal, and then Past in Flames allowing him to go off again next turn.
Right, yeah. And here comes everything. He's just, I think you're nailing it right now. I think he's going to do exactly that. He's going to sap some life, enable himself to survive a few more swings here.
Yep. And he's leaving, it appears that he's leaving Cabal Ritual in his hand. The reason for this is if he draws Ad Nauseam, then he has enough mana to go and do that.
Right. I think this is for 16 instead of 14, I think.
So it's going to give him a little bit of time, but he's drawing to fairly slim set of cards. It's Infernal Tutor, possibly Past in Flames, and Ad Nauseam.
Right. And Dana has Spell Pierce in hand. Not anymore. We have used our mana, and we are all in now.
All right.
Again.
Grant's got a little bit of time, probably 2 turns here, I would wager.
Yep, Duress can clear the way. I don't know if you use it now. I think you wait, right? He's at 6.
I think he wants to wait for the turn where he's going off.
Right.
It's another card to add to the storm count if that matters for some reason, and more importantly, he wants to give Dana kind of as many turns to draw Force of Will as possible.
Right.
Because you don't want to dress him now and have him draw Force of Will.
Yeah, that'd be a disaster. And it looks like Dana's going to just invest a lot of his mana anyway into attacking it. It seems like even with Spell Pierce, he doesn't care. He just wants to do maximum damage here.
He coming across. I assume we're going to see a Curse Catcher after combat. That's going to threaten lethal. Or he can just leave the Pierce up.
He left Pierce up. I think Grant is... he just let this resolve, honestly. I pay 2. Yeah, I think, I don't know if Grant has anything in his hand.
Just creatures.
Yeah, Grant is dead.
And now we get to play our Lord, turn on our Mutavaults.
That's a million damage.
And that's a lethal attack.
Alright.
Dana Drew, 2 games to 1. Very impressive win for Merfolk. Congratulations on entering the top 8 at 8-1.
Yep, great job. Merfolk is a pretty tricky deck to play.